Hello, this is Tony Eller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about climate. Climate alarmists are demanding rationing of energy. Here's a tweet from Eleanor Boyle of the Globe and Mail. Rationing, a consumption cap, or a guaranteed fair share of things we all value? I think both, and for climate reasons, it's time we talk about it again. The climate crisis is like a world war, so let's talk about rationing. It's time for mandatory cutbacks on the kinds of consumption that threaten all of us. Let's think about what she's saying here. First of all, climate alarmists don't want to talk about anything. They demand censorship of anyone with a differing idea. When they say they want to talk about things, it means they want to tell you what to do. And when they talk about a fair share of things we all value, that means they get what they want and you don't. And there's not the slightest indication that the climate crisis even exists, much less that it's like a world war. This is what London looks like this evening. London is a thriving, wealthy city powered by fossil fuels. And this is what London looked like during World War II. The author of the Globe and Mail article appears to be unable to distinguish between these two photographs. Let's look now at what's really going on here. This is a graph from Oxford University showing CO2 emissions by country. CO2 emissions from Asian countries are skyrocketing, and at the same time CO2 emissions in the United States and Europe are falling. China is far and away the largest producer of carbon dioxide in the world, and China is planning on building hundreds of new coal-fired power plants by the year 2030. They're building these power plants under an agreement they made with President Obama. 5 years ago, the Obama White House made this press release: U.S.-China joint announcements on climate change. Today, the presidents of the United States and China announced their respective post-2020 actions on climate change. China intends to achieve the peaking of CO2 emissions around the year 2030. In other words, President Obama agreed to let them build as many coal-fired power plants as they wanted until the year 2030. And 2030 was already the year they figured they would have enough coal-fired power plants built, so essentially the Chinese gave up absolutely nothing. This press release was nothing but meaningless propaganda from the Obama White House. The BBC says, China coal power building boom sparks climate warning. The doublespeak department at the New York Times wrote this headline: as Beijing joins climate fight, Chinese companies build coal plants. So apparently building coal-fired power plants is joining the climate fight. And here's some more classic doublespeak from NPR. Why is China placing a global bet on coal? China, known as the world's biggest polluter, has been taking dramatic steps to clean up and fight climate change. So why is it also building hundreds of coal-fired power plants in other countries? So the message here once again is that building coal-fired power plants is cleaning up and fighting climate change. The president of China says building hundreds of coal-fired power plants is open, clean, and green development. The reality is that Canada could drop off the face of the earth and would have almost no impact on atmospheric CO2 levels. This graph from NOAA shows atmospheric CO2 levels rising exponentially since the year 1960. I've annotated the dates of climate treaties on here, and as you can see, they do absolutely nothing. China and India are going to continue building lots of new coal-fired power plants. And the only thing which Eleanor Boyle's war on the West will do is hurt the West. Climate alarmists are irrational and dangerous. They threaten our freedom and our lifestyles. They pretend they're doing something good when in fact they're doing the exact opposite. H.L. Mencken said a century ago, the urge to save humanity is almost always only a false face for the urge to rule it. Power is what all messiahs really seek, not the chance to serve. There's nothing new about the idea of sacrificing other people to control the climate. Climate alarmists have believed for hundreds of years that sacrifice is necessary. The author of this article is not proposing anything new. Visit Toto on the web at RealClimateScience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science and propaganda for a long time.